Hi guys! So it's been quite a while. I've been on a hiatus because of university deadlines, but since then I actually have completed a sketchbook. It's quite a long sketchbook, so hopefully this is going to be a pretty long sketchbook tour. I have made the decision to do a change in the way I do sketchbook updates now. I don't do it every month. I do it when I complete a sketchbook. I think that'll be a lot better for me, so let's get started. Before I go into the sketchbook, this is a Sea White of Brighton sketchbook, as you can see here. And it has some stickers on it. These are stickers from my Redbubble. So we have Heather's one, and then my character Loki. Some Scrawlbox stickers. So let's look into the sketchbook. So I started this around the time that I was doing Doki Doki Literature Club fan art. So you can see Yuri and Monica. They're not very good sketches, but they were kind of like my very first take on the characters, just trying to figure out how they would look in my style. Really stupid sketches. I'm one of those people who does not finish a lot of sketches. Like, some I polish very well, and then there's others where I just leave the page. It also has a lot to do with my train journeys, because I've been commuting to university and usually I try and finish it within a train journey, and if I don't finish it I usually just leave it. So then we have my character Jalul, my dragon boy. So I usually know exactly what day this is, not just because of the date up there, which is Christmas Eve. I remember this particular piece because on Christmas Eve my grandmother said, "Where's my drawing? I want a drawing of yours to stick on my wall." So I actually did this while at her house on Christmas Eve, and I made a print of it to give to her on Christmas Day because I saw her twice within a 2-day period, so yay. Also, this is going to be in my final show. We're doing this thing called a salon wall, and a salon wall is basically where all of the members of my class have 2 or 3 images, and we all just have a big collaboration wall of framed images, so different frames, different images, and it hopefully will look great. At the time I'm recording this, I haven't actually done anything for my final show as of yet, but I will be getting around to it within the next week. So this was trying out some of the new stuff that I got over Christmas. This was a trial of my Schminky watercolours, and I don't really think the Schminky watercolours like this paper very much because the amount of times it tried to like eat the paper was insane. This is my character Hide, and that's Daphne in the background. I think this was a test of the White Nights watercolour. I personally prefer the White Nights watercolour. They are a tad bit cheaper than the Schminky watercolours, but I prefer them because they've got big pans. And so on this page I tried to design a new male character, however it didn't really go too well and I didn't know how I want him to look. So I decided to draw out all of my other boys that I have, Nicholas, Jalul, Rocco and Reese, to try and have a face shape that's slightly different and also maybe an eye shape that's slightly different. They're not as different as I would like them to be, but for now I think it suits my skill level at the moment. So I'd rather not explain the context behind this particular drawing. That is due to the fact that it has some personal information connected to it, which I'd rather not delve into. But I will say that the original conflict was based on a misunderstanding between me and some friends, and it's fixed now, it's completely done with, and I'm happy about that, so I'm not really going to say much more about it. So I will also say that this sketchbook has a lot of stuff to do with university in it, because even though it was my personal sketchbook, it was also kind of like a notebook, an ideas journal for like everything I did at university and more. So I did development sketches that I had to scan the sketchbook and then print off the work that I did in here just so I could get it into my projects. This was done for a module called Authorial Practice, where I did a Titanic comic. So these were the ideas about it. It was a silent comic that was based on the Titanic and the victims of it. So it was kind of like a perspective thing of survivors and also people who died. This one is my character Skylar. She is like a ghost, and there's like this whole demons and angels and stuff thing around her. It's really complicated to explain, and this is just a sketchbook flip through video, so I'm not going to really delve into it that much. If you want to read more about my characters, I will leave a link to the website where you can find it down below. I really need to update it though, so be aware that it's not at its full potential currently. My character Loki. These are my character Jalal's parents, Moira and Alton Doverkin, when they were young. Then I decided to redesign characters that are the mother and father of Skylar. Now, originally their names were Nathan and Stephanie, but with the help of some people on my live stream chat, it was changed to Faye and Ronan Featherby. Skylar's name used to be Flutterby, but I found Featherby to just be a better sounding name and it rolls off the tongue a lot better, so I changed it to Featherby. It's not really too much of a big change. It still has that kind of feel to it, so yeah. Well, my character Loki and her boyfriend Elijah. Elijah isn't my character, he belongs to one of my friends. His name is Paxton. Then we have a hourglass and Loki holding an hourglass. It's a pretty empty sketchbook now that I come to think about it, because some pages I just did not fill this side and some pages I did. So it's kind of a mishmash, I can't say it. So that was supposed to be a little sketch of Loki and Elijah. This is Vanessa. People who don't know my characters are going to be really confused. I'm so sorry for people who get confused. So this is Ruby. I'm really not a fan of this. Like, there's something really off about it. I don't know, maybe some shading might actually help it, or maybe it won't. I don't know. It feels weird to me. Now I like this drawing. I thought that the weight was good. Also, it was a pen sketch that I did during a lecture I had. Well, I was kind of half paying attention to that lecture and half paying attention to this. And I think it kind of rings true a lot of the time when I don't overthink things. If I overthink things, they'll be overdone, if you know what I'm saying. It's like leaving something in the oven too long. It's like you've cooked it for too long. Some really broken sketches of Loki's dog Rocket. Me trying to design a world and it looks really crap. I hate the way it looks. I tried, but it wasn't turning out right. These were some sketches of Loki and Elijah. Obviously that's Loki. This is Loki and Elijah. So this particular sketch is actually the first rendition of a digital piece that I did of Loki holding a candle. I will actually put the image that I did digitally on screen so you can see it. So then I did some random character sketches. I kind of really like this one. So this was for a university module called Professional Practice, where you learn all about image copyright, self-promotion. This was the first project that we were given called Map of Me, where it basically you take everything about yourself and everything you want to do and all your aspirations and everything, so it visually maps everything out, and it really did help. It was actually surprisingly helpful for everything I wanted to do. So I will definitely take all of the stuff into account. So these are random. I don't know what these are or actually they came about. I think I was trying to experiment, but I just didn't know what I wanted. And I will say that this sketchbook has a lot of art block in it. I had quite a lot of art block through this because I wanted to do personal sketches, but at the same time I felt like I was wasting time for university work. So you can understand a bit of my dilemma when I was going through this, and I basically had a bit of an existential crisis with it. I just did not know where I was coming or going. So this is it. So this was a first sketch of Aphrodite for a comic I did for one of my other university modules, and it was for a comic called The Story of Pisces, of how it's about how Pisces became a member of the zodiac. So that is my character Kai. My character Ruby. I actually really like this picture and I've used it a lot just over social media in general. The expressions challenge. This was the beginning of what would become the expressions challenge. Just stepping outside my comfort zone. These were just random pen sketches, whereas the other ones, they were like full detailed illustrations trying to push myself and push the expression that I was doing with the characters. These were just random sketches. Also, this one's totally related to a real life thing that happened to me. My mum tried calling me in the morning at 6:20 AM. Not appreciated, mother. Not appreciated at all. A situational prompt from Sammy with Skipper and Isla. Really adorable. Something that didn't work, obviously. An unfinished train sketch. What a surprise! One of many. Skylar trying to experiment with like her age, and also I had art block and I can tell because it's awful. This was for a self-promotional project for Professional Practice, and I was basically drawing myself and how I viewed myself. This is literally my mood all the time. So this was basically me trying to figure out what I wanted to do with one of my projects within another module. It all sounds really confusing, and honestly I do not know how I kept up with the university projects because the amount of projects and assignments I had was just ridiculous. There was one module that had 6 assignments to it, and they all were like their own module. It was really, really ridiculous. This one was based on the crazy weather we had at the end of February. Now, anyone in the UK, you all know the beast from the east that happened, and it was just ridiculous. And I kind of thought of this funny anecdote with Rocco and Reese. Reese is just saying, "It's -6, what are you doing?" That correlates to me one of the days where I actually attempted to go into university. I made it, but I was waiting at the station at -6, and it said on my phone that it felt like -13, and I'm like, what? What? Oh, it was so cold. Then we have Skipper and Isla. It's really adorable. My OCs as kids. This was done for a project based on the nursery rhyme of Ring a Ring a Rosie. There is Rocco and Reese. Comic planning. This was for the story of Pisces. I think I did all of this page in like, well, all of these 2 pages in about 30 minutes, I think. Either way, it didn't really take me that long because I was like, shh, all over the place. Something that was never finished. Story of my life. This was done inspired by Emma Blackery's single Dirt. For any of you who have not heard that song, you need to. It's amazing. Also, her new song Agenda came out like recently, so that's also really good too. I'd recommend it. So these were some ideas for another assignment. Oh joy! This was based on my character Mira. More planning for the Story of Pisces comic. Just experimenting with some fairies. What a surprise! Unfinished train sketch. This is kind of unfinished, but it's kind of finished at the same time, so in some places, like her eyes and also his legs, you can see that it's unfinished. So Hide and Daphne, and then Ruby and Alex. Hide and Daphne. So this is Alex, or Sapphire as some people like to say, and this was me testing out the new watercolour palette I had at the time, which was a 24 set of Sakura Koi watercolours. I kind of like Sakura Koi watercolours, but at the same time I don't. Now, I don't like them because of the texture. It kind of feels a little too chalky for my liking. However, the paint palette is the best thing ever for travelling. It is the one palette that I can just pick up and go and not have to worry about anything. No, not brushes, not water, not anything, because it's just a great palette all around. So these are watercolour backgrounds that I did for the Ring a Ring a Rosie project. They were just really, really simple, just trying to experiment with my watercolour kind of thing. Also, for the Ring a Ring a Rosie project, I did a picture of a hand. I actually kind of like this picture of a hand. I think it turned out well. Also, my hands are quite small, so it's very representational of my hand size. Another fairy. my teacher decided to give me some ideas for one of my other assignments, which was based on a poem to do with suicide. He gave me some ideas to expand upon, and these are some of the thumbnails, and okay. If you're wondering, the poem is Monologue at 3 AM. Then we have a fairy and my character Isla, so Iris and Isla. This is Sapphire, Alex or Sapphire. So this took me an entire day to do because I did not know how I wanted to design this at all. It was basically a random drawing of like this section, I think, and then it just spiraled out of control into a whole double page spread. But I love it for it. I think it definitely works well. And this is the castle of Loka. Now Loka is a kingdom that I created for my character Loki because she is a princess. So it's the kingdom of like time and space, so I kind of really wanted a traditional sort of design, but at the same time have elements of it not being traditional, so like different shapes and stuff, and I really hope that it makes sense. And I really enjoyed doing this. Even though it took me a long time to do, I thought it was just really, really relaxing to do. It was very therapeutic to actually just draw all this tiny little details and not worry about time, even though I felt like dying inside because university stress and deadlines just building up inside of me. But I really enjoyed doing this and it made me more relaxed. Oh, the Monologue at 3 AM project. Now this is where I started sketching stuff out for it. I had to flip back through my sketchbook to actually find room to put other little thumbnails in. That's why I showed you those first. But this was actually the first double page spread, and it kind of just speaks for itself. That was the thumbnail my teacher drew, like very, very quickly with one of my brush pens. I think he ruined one of my brush pens in the process. But he just sketched up elements that I could include, and I went from there. So these are artist talk notes. My university has talks from artists who come in and give advice and stuff about how they do their process and their work and everything. It's really, really insightful. It's really good. And this was from the artist Rebecca Gibbon. I did not have my notebook that day, so that's why. So more thumbnails from the Monologue at 3 AM assignment. The Tangled Tales assignment, which was the project based on Mirror. The Ring a Ring a Rosies project. These were notes for the story of Pisces comic, of what to change. I went through several different drafts, so obviously I had to like improve stuff after feedback. And then we have Loki, another fairy. I think this one is the Sketchbook of Fairies, to be honest. Alex and her dog Precious. This was some last minute prepping for one of my projects that I did, the self-promotional project. And then this is the last page. So we have Scarlet, a little fairy girl down here. And then this is a relatively new character. So this was kind of going into Mermaid. Like, I think it was done almost right at the end of April, almost in May, or whether it was like the first few days of May, I can't quite remember. Either way, this is the Jellyfish Queen Aquaria. and there is not anything after that except for notes of university and future stuff that I could do. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this sketchbook tour. I'm so sorry that I took so long to upload content. I'm hoping to get out content very soon. So hopefully this is actually a great time for me to come back to my channel. I really hope that I can get it back to what it was, because honestly, because of my hiatus, I have noticed my subscribers yo-yoing dramatically, as well as a loss in everything essentially. So hopefully I can get the ball rolling again. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribe and click the notification bell if you want to receive updates of when I post, when I live stream, when I do anything on this channel. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!